Attention, you're listening to The Todd Huff Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk and education. Be advised, the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. And now, coming to you from the Full Suite Wealth Studios, here's your conservative but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Well, welcome, my friends. We're going to talk about Iran today. We're going to talk about what's happening in the region. We're going to talk about some of the dangers that we have here in this country. Thank you, Biden administration, for that. Got some other things in the news that I want to get to as well. The media is fawning over Rahm Emanuel. I tell you what, these people are too much for me, my friends. And I've got something else. I got a bunch in the stack of stuff. By the way, if you want to get access to the stack of stuff and everything we have to say on this program, including things we say only in our daily email, sign up for free by texting the word truth to 317-785-1030. In fact, you'll hear that number a lot. You can communicate with us there with your thoughts and questions and feedback. And yes, always include that adoration and praise. We can also, it's also going to be now a way that you can text connect, because I think it's easier for you. Of course, make sure you're complying with the rules of the road if you're driving and so forth. But texting is quicker. So if you hear an ad or hear something that one of our advertisers and partners can help you with, you can text the keyword and we will connect you with them or give you a link depending upon the best way to do that. And so that number, again, 317-785-1030. Okay, so we're going to talk again about what's happening in Iran, my friends. Bunch of stuff to get to, and we'll get there in due course. But let's face it, living with discomfort is tough, and while prescription medications can help, they often come with a long list of side effects, not to mention the risk of dependency. That's why more people are exploring natural options like Kratom from Christopher's Organic Botanicals. Christopher's is a family-run company that does things the right way. They work directly with Indonesian farmers who lab test every batch of kratom that they bring to market here in the U.S. No synthetics, no chemicals, no surprises, just honest, natural kratom. Kratom that's been used for generations, my friends. So, Christopher's keeps it real. They keep it clean, and they keep you informed. They want you to be an educated user of their product. And so you can go to their website or you can research on your own. And once you decide it's something that makes sense for you, start with their Kratom Starter Pack. Use code Todd Huff. You'll save 10%. Christopher's Organic Botanicals.com. Again, that's Christopher's Organic Botanicals.com. Truth, tradition, transparency. So let's talk about this, my friends. Let's talk about what's actually happening right now in this Iranian conflict and war. So there are, I've mentioned this before, and I don't want this to sound too intellectual or something like that, but it's worth your time, if you haven't done so, to read Sun Tzu's, and by the way, that's spelled S-U-N-T-Z-U, first and last name, two different names, Sun Tzu's The Art of War, because a lot of this will make sense. Because if you listen to the headlines and you listen to all that's being said, it's kind of a bit of a hodgepodge as to what is going on out there. And so the U.S. posture on Iran is tightening. They're preventing or trying to prevent Iran from doing what Iran has done for a long time on the world stage, for a long time, candidly, with the United States of America, and that is to squirm and finagle their way out of a particular situation. They have become kind of masters of this. And when you have administrations that are so fixated on getting some piece of paper signed that they can come back and show the media and show the American electorate, look, they promised, they signed a sheet of paper, they made a peaking promise in the meeting, the war is going to end. If you have an administration like that and you're negotiating with people like what we see, like those we see running the Iranian, the Islamic Republic of Iran, it's a recipe for perfect disaster for the good guys, for the people who want peace, for the people who want to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. It is a recipe for disaster, and we have been victimized by that for a long time. That's not the case now. We have a commander-in-chief who I know is hated by a large percentage of Americans because, well, they've been stirred to hate this man. I've gone through this before. I'll do it again really quickly. Because there are people obviously who haven't listened, and they should feel a lot of shame, but they haven't listened to every program that we've produced. But we've shared on here what happened. Trump came along in 2015, came down the escalator. At first he was ignored, then he was laughed at, mocked, and ridiculed. Then they realized this guy is a legitimate threat. Remember, even on the night of the election, they thought Hillary was going to be coronated the Queen of America, first female president in American history. Although I don't know how we can say that because I don't know if we know James K. Polk, how he identified. I'm not sure we know how some of these other folks, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, we don't know how they identified. So I don't even know that we could have said Hillary was the first female president, if she would have been. Fortunately, she wasn't. But there were people who literally had bottles of wine in their car Election Day 2016, prepared to celebrate the coronation of one Hillary Rodham Clinton. And of course, that did not materialize. That did not happen. Hillary lost, thankfully, and Trump became president. And from day one, actually before he even took office, President Trump was, the plan was to do everything they could to stop him. Now, this is nothing new. This is what the media and the Democrat Party attempt to do every time a Republican has political power. And they've been successful at it, right? Because typically what they do is they turn up the heat. They focus on driving public opinion down. And there's a story that I'll get to later that juxtaposes the way Republicans are dealt with in the media, the mainstream media, versus how the left is adored and fawned over in the media, which time permitting, I'll get there. If not, it will be in the inner circle, which goes out about 5 o'clock every day if we don't have time. But I think I can get to it. Anyway, so they attack Trump, and Trump does something that's never been done before by a president or even by a politician, a Republican politician. Trump has this uncanny ability to really get energized, if you ask me. He's energized when he faces opposition. And this runs contrary to the way that the left runs their smear campaigns, their misinformation campaigns, their campaigns to drive down the president or some politician's net favorability numbers and all this sort of stuff. They just want him to be unlikable. They want him to be someone that you hate for reasons a lot of people don't even know why they hate Trump. You ever listen to some of the things these clowns say? It is unbelievable to me. They don't know anything. They're low information voters in many cases, or they're very, very they've been stirred to so much anger and hatred for an individual that they don't know anything about. Listen, I didn't like Joseph Robinette President Bribery, but it's not a personal thing. I didn't like his ideas. I didn't like open borders. I didn't like economic policies that created massive inflation on the American people. almost to 10%. People are getting on Trump for where the economy is today, but the numbers were driven up by Biden. That's how this works. Prices don't magically come down if it's true inflation, because that is now baked in to the mix. And inflation is what we have. There's always some inflation. It's just Joe Biden's inflation was literally almost 5 times what it was under President Trump. And so it was disastrous what we had. I disliked him for what he was doing to this country. I still think it's dangerous. I think there's plenty of evidence to suggest that he and his brother and his son were allegedly involved in some very shady business dealings and so forth. I don't like any of this stuff. I definitely don't like their ideas and what they've been trying to push down the throats of the American people. Anyway, it's not personal for me, but it is for the left. That's the most effective type of hatred to stir up. If you get people to dislike someone personally, man, it is a powerful weapon that can be used against them. Because now if you frame them as the evil person, them as the bad guy, they never can do any good. And that's where a healthy chunk of this population, the American people, find themselves today. But Trump did something when he was maligned and lied about and framed in the media as Hitler and everything else. He fought back. This is uncommon. Reagan largely ignored it. He would occasionally address the Democrats and the media, but not like this. We've not seen anything like this. And by the way, I told my wife this, we're never going to have, whatever you think of this, whatever you think about Trump and the way he's engaging with the media, the Democrat Party, the tenor of politics, we're never going to have this again. I don't believe so in our lifetimes. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, I think, to regain control of this nation and to put it back on track and to undo the damage, the deceit that's been done by the Democrat Party, by even the establishment Republicans, by the media who lied to us about virtually everything, to get that back on track, namely through shrinking the size of the federal government and exposing these sophists and clowns for who they are. So Trump fought back against the allegations and the attacks and so forth. And then the media upped the ante. But see, Trump never backs down from a fight. So normally what happens is you get to a point where the Republican candidate or the Republican office holder said, you know what, I'm going to say uncle here. I give up. I'm not going to press this any further. You got me. You've taken this further than I want to take it, but you can't get there with Trump. He's literally fearless. I think he's actually energized by it. It is a remarkable thing. It is a remarkable quality to have, to be able to deal with such negativity and personal attacks and all these things he's dealt with, and not only be able to function and operate, but really almost seem as though he's loving every second of it. It is, I've never seen this before. You would think at some point he would be human like the rest of us and begin to be bothered by something, but it just doesn't happen. And so that's been the weapons that have been, used against him and his presidency. And it's why we're here. And it's why some of these crazy news narratives about what's actually happening now with Iran, they are able to get traction when there's no real footing in reality. There's no basis in reality. So the United States posture on Iran is tightening, of course, where Trump is basically saying there's going to be a negotiated end to this deal or else. He's recently been back out there. You remember a week or so ago, Trump said if Iran does not negotiate an end to the war, then we are going to obliterate their energy infrastructure. he gave them a 5-day pause because there was some apparent movement in that direction. Who knows? I mean, these are games, right? These are games. There are things people say, and there are things people do, and then there are the things that they do after they say what they're going to do. And that's where we find ourselves typically with Iran. They say they're going to do one thing, and of course they do something altogether different. And that's where we don't want to be. So the media is out there saying that there's no plan here. There's no cohesiveness to what Trump's doing. He's just shooting from the hip and everything else. And Marco Rubio was on with George Stephanopoulos over the weekend. Stephanopoulos, like the rest of the media, they're out there trying to frame this as Trump just basically shooting from the hip, doing whatever he feels like, making it sound like he doesn't have a plan and so forth. But the thing is, he does have a plan. Trump does have a plan. He has conditions that he wants to see met. And this has been made clear by Trump from the very beginning of this conflict. But the media doesn't want you to believe that. The media doesn't want you to know that. The media wants to run with the idea that Trump is out here dangerously impacting the world because he's reckless and hasn't really thought this thing through. But that's, again, not at all accurate. So Rubio's on with George Stephanopoulos. I'm trying to pull this up here. I don't know why that's not coming up. Bear with me here. But Rubio's on with Stephanopoulos, and he says, listen, Trump has made this clear. You guys can sit here and talk about things that you say are that Trump doesn't have a plan and so forth, but he's made this abundantly clear to anybody who cares to pay it. Here we go. Sorry, it wouldn't pull up for me. So Rubio, this was over the weekend. He's with George Stephanopoulos, and he's going to correct him. Good for him, by the way. This often doesn't happen by Republicans. They're too busy capitulating. They're too busy, doing what they did in the Senate, which is pretend like they're trying to negotiate funding for DHS and then running for their first-class tickets and their TSA passes so they don't have to go through the extended lines that they've, by the way, caused, making everybody else wait, but they're not good enough, or they're too good, I should say, to actually wait in those lines. That was the subject of today's Todd Talk. But anyway, here's Rubio, and good for Rubio, by the way, for telling Stephanopoulos what he tells him here. Hey, George, why don't you write these down so that you don't forget that there actually is a series of very clear objectives when it comes to Iran.
This operation, okay, and that's what this is, it's about very specific objectives. The president laid them out on the first night of the operation. I'll repeat them to you now because I hear a lot of talk about we don't know what the clear objectives are. Here they are. You should write them down. Number one, the destruction of their Air Force. Number two, the destruction of their Navy. Number three, the severe diminishing of their missile launching capability. And number four, the destruction of their factories so they can't make more missiles and more drones to threaten us in the future. All of this so that they can never hide behind it to acquire a nuclear weapon. That was our objective from the beginning. That remains our objective now. We are on pace and, in fact, ahead of schedule on some of those things, and we are going to achieve those things in a number of weeks, not in a number of months.
I got to tell you, I love that, by the way. Hey, George, maybe you should write this down. George, maybe this is a little bit confusing for you. I don't know why you can't keep up. I'll pause between the bullet points so that you can have time to finish writing the point. 4 point, the objectives are 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number 1, destroy Iran's Air Force. Number 2, destroy Iran's Navy. Number 3, severely dismantle or severely harm their ability to fire ballistic missiles at people and drones and so forth. So hard to understand about this. The last thing is we're going to make sure that they don't have factories so they can go about building the things that they promised us they wouldn't do? So complicated about this, George. This has been the objective from the very beginning. And I think if people don't understand that these objectives exist, maybe, just maybe, it's intentional. Maybe, George, it's either intentional or it's not intentional. If it's intentional, you're a sophist and you're someone who is a professional deceiver. If it's unintentional, you're just merely incapable of doing your job and you should probably hang it up. Which one is it, knucklehead? That's what he's saying here. And good for him. Write them down, George. I'll speak slowly and clearly so that it can get through your thick skull so that you know what we're actually trying to accomplish here. We're trying to prevent World War III. We're trying to prevent this regime who's hell-bent on launching attacks, threatening the very existence of the nation of Israel and the United States of America. So you'll forgive me if I'm a little bit annoyed that you don't have the capability or the interest to follow along here so that you can talk about this objectively and honestly with your viewers. Of course, that's not what you want to do. You want to deceive them and mislead them and drive them to an idea that is, of course, aligned with the political outcome that you want, which is Democrats win the midterm elections. So if you want to listen to that, that's in the stack of stuff. This is at townhall.com, by the way. But if you want to go there, that's we always put that out in our newsletter. Text truth to 317-785-1030, and you can get that for absolutely free, my friends. It goes out every day about 5 o'clock. Let me ask you something. Would you rather take 2 Salty soft gels a day or spend hours in your doctor's office talking about your high cholesterol? I know without a shadow of a doubt what I would choose, and I kind of like my doctor. That's why I take Salty, my friends. It's an all-natural, clinically proven dietary supplement that lowers cholesterol. It's been proven. Science has spoken on this. No prescriptions, no doctor's visits. This isn't even a drug. It's a natural supplement. All you have to do is take 2 Salty soft gels a day. It's helped lots of people lower their cholesterol. May be able to do the same thing for you as well. And when you sign up using our link, my promo code, my name Todd, you're going to save 50% off your first 3 months supply and get free shipping. So to get the link, text the word HEART to 317-785-1030. Again, text HEART to 317-785-1030. We'll get that over to you right away. Quick time out, my friends. Back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. I mentioned that when you think about these things, it's good to know, it's good to have a reference point of Sun Tzu's The Art of War, because again, that book explains the strategery behind military conflict. It's just a fantastic book, a classic. But you look at these headlines and you say, one headline says that we're close to attaining our objectives. I believe that, by the way. I think that we are close to attaining our objectives. Another says that, basically Trump is pressuring Iran again to come back to the negotiating table because if they don't sign a deal, he is going to obliterate their infrastructure. Says this, I'm not playing games with you. I gave you a little bit of leniency here. You acted like you wanted to come to the negotiating table last week. You didn't do it. I'm not playing games. Test me, Iran, and you will find out just how serious I am about this. By the way, I might go ahead and take some of their oil as well, because they're the ones that are driving up the cost of oil. They're causing havoc on the rest of the world when it comes to energy prices because they're behaving like maniacal madmen, which is, of course, why they can't have a nuclear weapon. And I may just take some of their oil as well. I don't know. Let me think about this for a few more minutes, and there might be some other things I take from these lunatics as well, because we're going to win, and we are going to demand certain conditions, And the more that the quicker that they come to the point of accepting these conditions and acting like adults and not demanding to have a nuclear weapon so that they can threaten their neighbor Israel, threaten the region, threaten the world, push a global caliphate, the sooner they come to grips with that, the easier this is going to be on both the regime and the people of Iran. By the way, the people of Iran, Trump would say, I hope they rise up and seize this opportunity to throw out their current government. This is the chance. These are the people. These are the people. And it's hard, by the way, to get the message to the Iranian people. But if this message gets to them, folks, this is encouraging to them. They do not want to live under the thumb of this brutal regime. They have risen up at points in time in history, and it has always been squashed by the Iranian regime. This is a moment where the regime is weakened. The American military is not playing games. Neither is the Israeli military. This may be the perfect moment for them. It's definitely the best opportunity they've had as far as getting out of this terrible system that they're under. And then you hear all that stuff, and then in the next breath, Trump says, look, we've almost attained our objectives, and so the campaign is almost coming to an end. It's almost concluding. The timeline is in motion, which we know that it is, but the timeline may be at the end. But at the same time, this thing could involve ground troops. In fact, I've read reports, I think it's in the stack of stuff, that there are as many as 50,000 American troops in that region now that could theoretically, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but could theoretically be involved in some part of an operation to finish the mission here, to have the objectives met. So, lots of things to dissect there and think through. But again, I would direct you when reading these things or thinking about these things, the art of war. You want your enemy to be confused. You don't want them to know what really is coming next. You don't want them to know your capabilities. You don't want to give up the element of surprise. By the way, that was a huge part of the success in the early stages of this campaign. We've already shared with you briefly on here that the top Israeli military brass, they showed them heading home for the Sabbath, only later to then come back in disguise to launch an operation that the Iranians did not see coming. And that's why they were able to take out so many of the leaders, because the Iranians, they know that the Jewish state is very serious about following the Sabbath and so forth. And so they thought that they didn't have to worry about anything happening on that particular day. And of course, they were very, very wrong in their assessment. And so these things matter. And we also know that the Iranians have mastered them. The Iranians are like nailing Jell-O to the wall. They will conform themselves to whatever it appears like they need to look like to get the United States off their back so that they can continue their nuclear ambitions. But see, Trump does not play by the standard operating manual. He has his own rules, and he's not going to let them squirm out of this particular situation. Now, on top of that, there's a story in the stack, which again, you get in the daily email as a member of the Inner Circle, which is free, or you can go to our website and look for it as well. But there are concerns, growing concerns, I would say, that there are Iranian sleeper cells here in this country. Specifically, during the Joe Biden administration, President bribery, we had wide open borders. Reports are that there were 1,500 Iranians that were stopped at the border, which begs the question, how many got past the porous open border? I don't know the answer to that. But I do know that it's probably a substantial number of people. Have they infiltrated this country? Have they set up sleeper cells? And what does that mean? How does that impact this particular conflict? And how does the conflict, what does that mean for these potential sleeper cells that could be scattered all around this great nation? That's a legitimate problem. And again, folks, I don't know. I try to tell the truth. I don't like to just point fingers all the time, but my goodness, the previous administration literally did not care about your safety, my safety. They didn't. They didn't care about whether or not young women were going to be, assaulted and murdered by illegal aliens. I see knuckleheads out there still posting stupid things. I don't go on social media hardly ever, but I did see something that a knucklehead in this area, my area, posted about how the Republicans and Trump supporters or whoever are against immigrants because they're racist, not because of these other things, which is the level of sand required to bury your head in to think that. Listen, there are people that don't want to know the truth, and if you're that obtuse and you're that devoted to the talking point of the left, then I am not going to waste my energy. I'm a huge believer in trying to persuade people, but you have to be someone who's reasonable. And there are people who are unreasonable. They have given up trying to understand truth. They have bought a narrative. They have decided to cash in all their chips and to hand them over willingly to the Democrat Party or to the radical left. And they say, do with these what you will. I'll support you. I'll vote for you. I'll donate for you. I'll repost your stupid junk on social media and everything else. Some of these folks are teaching your children, by the way, my friends. Anyway, so this is a reality that we all have to come to. We've got a war. We've had Iranian sleeper cells in this country. It's almost certain. We don't know how many. We don't know where. We don't know what their capabilities are. We don't know what their instructions are, but it's not good. It's not good at all. So, got to pause there, my friends. Wrap up this segment. Think about this for a moment. Your investments are like seeds you plant. They grow, they multiply, but are they bearing the type of fruit that you want? At 4-8 Financial, they believe your money should reflect your values. They specialize in wealth management and biblically responsible investing, screening out companies that do not align with your faith. It's all part of their purpose-centered financial planning, helping you live a life of meaning and purpose. If you want to see if your investments align with your values, or really just to what degree they align, is it 0%? Is it 100%? Is it anywhere in between? Well, that's easy to do, my friends. All you have to do is head on over to 48financial.com/Todd, 48financial.com/Todd. In fact, we should give this a keyword as well, so you can text in and get this. I'll have Zana set that up. But 48financial.com/Todd, 48financial. They're here to worry about your money, so you don't have to. Quick timeout for me, my friends. Back in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. We've talked a lot about Iran here today. I want to shift gears. Here a little bit. I can't believe this. I mean, I can, but at the same time, it's still an incredible thing to behold. The way that the media fawns over and adores people in the Democrat Party, politicians. It is honestly, it's disgusting is what it is. It's not journalism. It's not serious. People who think like this and who are persuaded by stuff like this are a huge problem in this country today. Reminds me of the article that Rush used to talk about a lot that was written by David Brooks, who supposedly is a Republican, but he's an elitist Republican. He wrote a op-ed about the crease in Obama's pant leg back when I think it was when Obama was maybe a senator. And effectively, I mean, there's a little bit of hyperbole here, but because of the crease in the pant leg of Obama, David Brooks was certain that Obama had a wonderful political future. Anyway, that's the kind of garbage that passes for actual commentary and journalism. And I want to get to this in just a moment, my friends. But ever notice how some families seem to have a plan that lasts for generations? That is not by choice. Full Suite Wealth works with people who want their wealth to make a difference for years to come. Their team brings together high-level investment strategies like private equity, private credit, and options strategies with expert legal guidance as well. It's all about making sure your vision becomes a reality for the people you love today and for those you'll love tomorrow in the future who maybe aren't even here yet, my friends. If you're looking to do more than just manage your money, if you want to leave your mark, if you want to build something lasting, take a look at Full Suite Wealth. FullSuiteWealth.com, that's the website. Again, that's FullSuiteWealth.com. Build your legacy, secure your future. Okay, I'm just going to get into this really quickly. If I don't get into this enough, I'll write about it in the Inner Circle today, which again, you can subscribe to for free by texting truth to 317-785-1030. That said, here we go. Politico embarrasses itself with a fawning story about Rahm Emanuel's dietary habits, written by Amy Curtis. This is at townhall.com. At the start of February, Vogue magazine published a gushing article about failed California Governor Gavin Newsom. Folks, I got to tell you, this makes me blush to read this. I'm not kidding. It began like this. This is me. That was me saying that. That's not me reading it. It's embarrassing to read what supposedly intelligent people have to say about politics. Here we go. This is what Vogue wrote about Gavin Newsom. He is in... I don't even like to say this. He is embarrassingly handsome. His hair seasoned with silver, at ease with his own eminence as he delivers his final State of the Union address. This is supposedly elitist leftist commentary. This is so pathetic. These idiots. It was one of the most gag-inducing leads we've ever seen, and the backlash should have been a lesson to the media, but the media refused to learn, and now Politico has entered the cringe Olympics with this lead about former Obama chief of staff and possible 2028 presidential candidate Rahm Emanuel. Oh, boy. Here we go. Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is how Rahm Emanuel eats a salad. He rips open its clear clamshell container with two hands. He grabs the dressing. He pours it across the salad. He picks up the salad container, shaking it with an intensity and a ferocity that forces the balsamic throughout, giving no quarter to the greens and the grilled chicken. This is material information. This was that's how they that's how they started this thing. What in the world? What in the world is going on? This is material information, mind you, for his would-be 2028 Democratic presidential primary rivals, because how Rahm Emanuel eats a salad is how he does anything and everything, with intent and with verve and without mercy. So, these clowns at Politico, this is serious. This is not satire. It certainly sounds like it. This is serious. You know how there's the Babylon Bee and then there's not the Bee? The Babylon Bee makes up headlines, mocking things of the day, and they're pretty funny at it. Then there's not the Bee. It's actually things that are true that sounds like it should be in the Babylon Bee, but they're not, because they're actually not just made up headlines and stories that the Babylon Bee is, making up from a satirical point of view. This is actually real stuff. This is a real story. It's material information, they said, for people who might be running against Rahm Emanuel in 2028 should Emanuel decide to enter the race. You better watch how this guy eats a salad. I tell you what, this, you want to know why real men don't vote for Democrats? This is it. This might be appealing to the metrosexual or women in suburbia, but my goodness, not to real men. Give me a break. I gotta go, my friends. Have a great day. SDG.